Are we alive? Are we here? Somebody give me a 5 by 5 if we are. Hey. Oh, it is Friday in such a large degree, and we are all here together. Thank you for coming. You and you who came early, and we're all full of C's and whatnot. Thank you. We are 5 by 5. We're apparently also 7 by 7. That's crazy. We get we get to double down on an extra two. I like that. Ma's here. Thank you for coming, Ma. Always brandishing that beautiful wrench of yours. If you have any needs, go ahead and hit her up for links and whatnot. Tara's Treasures is here. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. We've got Eric the cat hanging out in the chat. I like it. The cat in the chat. Yep. Betty is here. Good to see you. Thank you for coming, as well as Sonia. Hey, she's doing a blanket greeting. I know what that means, but it sounds funny too. And we have Brian. Greetings and Steinkerns to you, sir. Hopefully everything is going well in your life. And Margaret, she was one of the caros that created chatter with C's. Cheers to you. And oh yeah, you you are going to get your fill of Pixel this evening. I can barely talk about anything else. But wait, we have such a super cool show for you this evening. I can't be any more pumped than I am right now, because we not only have one, but we have two great guests this evening. We get to gem gaze at some spectacular cab championshipness. And so we're going to be talking about that first and foremost, and then we will indulge in pixels like you've never indulged before. So are we here? Yay. We got a 555. She's gonna go ahead and slap another 5 down. I love it. I got 2 5s and I'll raise you a 5. All right, and we've got the binary version. Thank you. 101 times 101. Thank you so much. Or 101. Yeah. All right, I can do it right. And Julie is coming. Great to hear. I hope that you guys are all finding yourself in a good place today. We've got Jeff, the truck rocker of J&V Rock Hounding, hanging out, lurking and listening, and hopefully Vicky is hanging out as well. Good to see you. Jeff had a cool Geode Kraken video that you got to go check out, and we sure did have a bunch of live work in the Maker's Studio this week. If you missed that, we not only had one that I threw on Wednesday night in lieu of Brian and Julie coming on, but they were on the Makers Live, which was so cool. It was like we were working the multiverse, we were just on a different slice of bread. And so we had that going on, and then Rufotris threw a wonderful live for all of us to make all together. I think we need to do those parties more often. You guys have to let me know how we can make them better for you, accepting the fact that we had some technical difficulties during mine. I think we were just riddled with sunspots or something like that. That was interesting. Habitat for Rockhounds. Jim Fry is in the house. Good to see you. And saying, good evening. You were always so chipper as a child. I would have loved to have you as a teacher. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that input. It is so easy to be chipper with all y'all. Sometimes stuff is weird in all the other dimensions of the multiverse, but this is like our rock safe space, right? So you guys are welcome here. You're safe. We'll embrace the time here. It's all good. Thank you, Jim, for that. And wouldn't that be great for Theo to come on and gloat gently? We'll give him an opportunity. He's not our guest this evening, sadly. We've got Pixels. My gamer name is Pixelated Chaos. That does sound like not only a wonderful name to go by, but certainly what it is that we are creating. And we have the turtle in the house. Very, very good. Saying that they are nowhere and everywhere all at once, which is very impressive. And so, another partaker of the multiverse, it looks like. We've got Jeanette in the house. Thank you so much for coming. Good to see you on this beautiful Friday. I hope that you're all having a wonderful and beautiful Friday as well. What we should do is make sure to get our Steinkern in. And so, let us take a let us take a wonderful cheers. A cheers to you and all that you do. And I hope that you have a wonderful rock hounding weekend, that you're in good health, and you find lots of really awesome scores. Cheers and Steinkerns. All right. And I'm actually getting blown up in my ear. And so, excuse if I looked just a touch distracted there for a moment. And here we go. Every nowhere. That works for me. I like it. I spend a lot of time there, a lot of time. And I don't know where. There you go. That one works as well. Everywhere. I like that. That's a TM. Everywhere. I want a shirt. I'm currently everywhere. If currently rock hounding didn't already exist with the currently in there, I might go with currently everywhere for a title. Can I use that, Mr. Turtle Montana? You'll have to let me know. And we definitely don't know who's on first or what's on second. Ba-dum-bimp. Absolutely. And we've got H2O tonight. You know, water's the best thing to have in your stein to kern. Still driving up to the lake later. Oof, been a long day. I hear that. It's time to put up your feet. Relax. We're gonna have some wonderful chatter to pass our time with. Some wonderful rocks to pass before your eyes. That is the aim for this evening. We're gonna treat you guys. We've got Jahik coming up. Caleb from Freeform Lapidary is going to be hanging out with us, talking about what we do over on the Discord. We've got some upcoming cab contest and makers challenge to talk about for the month of June, which we're 6 days into. And then we also have Lakers, or to some of you, it would be Lakers Lapidary. And for others of you, it would be By the Beers Lapidary. And for others of you, even yet, it's Corey Beer. And so we're going to have that person up on to also talk about the winning cab. And so we are definitely going to have a full house in here for you guys this evening. And welcome in, Soul. Good to see you. And we have Where Novary. Where Novary. Where Novary. I can do it. I'm going to squeeze it out. And so also, I did want to kind of go over the highlights of the week. Wisconsin, good to see you. Thank you for coming. We all had a great hangout over there on Allison's premiere, and also she had a fun live stream, as she always does. Afterwards, we were checking out the meteorites and whatnot, and all into the night. And like I said, we had the live stream that we did, Rufotris's live stream. I know that let's see, Phil from Dad's Rocks also put out a video for you guys to go check out. And Cynthia Foss also dropped a fresh video for all of us to go check out. And we know that there's been on and on and on wonderful material about Spencer's the opal mine. And so Kyle dropped his Spencer video. And we also have Trent, the rugged rock hound, dropping his Spencer opal video. And so there is so much. If you missed it going through the week, for you to glide through and treat your eyes to, and your rock needs will be met over the weekend. Extra fun videos. There's also, of course, all the good live streams that are going to be happening this weekend, like, of course, Kyle and Theo always drops you something sweet on Saturdays. And of course, we have Katie Did that always drops something sweet on Sundays. I got a rasp in my throat. We need more Steinkernens. Excuse me. And then also AZRE, we'd be back to doe, a deer, an Arizona deer for the Arizona Rockhound Expedition's usual live stream on Sunday nights, and a bunch of fun stuff in between. I'll bet you that Opal guy's got something for us to see, as well as hopefully Cheryl will be doing some liveliness in where Novari she is. And Sonia's saying, I have been every way, live or replay. I bet you meant everywhere. And yes, Eric, go check out the awesome meteorite stream for sure. It's a good thing. And don't drive and text. Oh please, oh please, oh please. And yeah, Rockin' Days and Yep and Siroxalot, good evening to you. I'm just catching up and making sure that I'm not leaving anybody behind. And Mr. Turtle Montana has a little bit of news here. I'm headed to the east side of the state to camp on the shores of Lake Huron. It's a 4-hour drive, and I have to be there by sunrise. I guess I should probably start packing. You better start packing, pal. I didn't take my Steinkern. Enjoy that. And I hope you have very safe travels. Get thee down the road and have a super good time. And so what we'll do is we will get onto it. We'll get Jahik up here to give us a little rundown on the Discord situation, and we'll see where that takes us. So, hello, Caleb.
How's it going? Hey, everybody.
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Am I coming through okay?
You are coming through 5x5 loud and clear. Perfect. We'll just not move.
Yeah, I had quite a bit of technical complications on my end the past couple of lives, so hopefully this one goes smoothly.
Yeah. I truly think that it was, just the universe kind of conspiring against us. So right. Don't take it personally. Right?
No, not at all. I just rolled with it. Did the best I could.
You did a great job. And thank you so much for hanging in there and delighting us with great big bins of rocks. And I mean, on Rufo's live stream, you seem to be fine.
Yeah. I think all parts of it, I was coming through. It sounded like when I would ask you guys, but on my end, either you guys weren't coming through or the video feed was being weird, or I missed a lot of the conversation that was directed towards me. For some reason, it would come through all robot-y and I couldn't make out anything.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that because things were kind of jittery on my end too. And yet it seemed to be going at least smoother than mine. And so, I was trying not to take that personally also. Why was it mine?
Right.
But no, that was super fun. And I don't know anybody who doesn't love to look at like mass quantities of cool looking rocks in a bucket or a bin. So
After a while, it's a little overwhelming, to be
yeah.
honest.
No, your work was difficult. Our work watching you, not difficult at all.
Right.
Totally pleasant. Yeah. So I get it. I get it. And so again, thanks for all of that. What have we got going on this month as far as the makers challenge? That's kind of like the specialty thing over there on the Discord. Do you want to kind of give a thumbnail and then we can get into what it's about?
Sure. Yeah, so we have the little maker showcase section on the Discord. Every month, I let people vote on a group of materials and pick which one they would like to go with for the month as a theme. And so it's just a way to have a material directed direction for everybody to partake in. So, for example, this month, people wanted to work with obsidian. So now for all of you makers out there, you can go in there and drop in stuff like if you're tumbling obsidian or wire wrapping or setting obsidian in jewelry, all that kind of stuff all applies over there. And if even if you want to share some finds you have, no big deal. There's not a lot of rules over there. So but just yeah, go over there, show us what you got going on, and it's pretty fun to see everybody going in a specific direction and feeding off each other for the different material types. Been fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I think that it can be just such a wonderful kick in the pants. You
Right.
know, even if you might be guilty of not participating via like posting something, you probably in the darkness of your studio might be like thinking out of your own box to be making things for the thing.
Right. And that's
that
the
that
point.
was
It's
so
just
clear.
it's to inspire people to, like I have obsidian. I have a ton of obsidian laying around and I almost never work it. And so, this will be something for me. I will find a piece and I'll throw something up at some point. And that works really well for that, because sometimes that can get you back into something that you maybe had set down and not come back to for a while.
Indeed. And I just want to be on the committee for stop not liking obsidian.com. And so I know that it's kind of got a little bit of a reputation,
Hmm.
and it doesn't have to be bad. There's
No,
yeah, you can get over having a rough time with it. And I'm really hoping that since we're bringing it forth on the June makers extravaganza, that people can share either their challenges with it and maybe get help, or also
absolutely.
share the solutions, and maybe it can make it a brighter thing for somebody else to try to tackle.
Absolutely. And that's, that channel seems to get a lot of discussion around what people are doing. And that's what's really great about that. It gets people working together or thinking together on these material types. And so, the conversation there is always great. So even if you're not really, make anything or don't want to participate, at least go read because some of the information that people drop there is really interesting.
Oh, for sure. And I think that one of the coolest things about that channel over there on the Discord is the fact that we get to see such a variety of things.
Right.
It's wonderful that we're focused in the cab contest on cabs, and especially, it's subject oriented. So it's going to hone in and be a focused thing. On the Makers Challenge, it is like a free for all. So you could
Hmm.
see like a bead over here and a wire wrap over there, and silversmithing with the thing. It's got to have the subject incorporated.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's great to see. Because like we do have our dedicated, like some of our other dedicated channels to certain topics and stuff, but and they do get their own little bits of attention. But yeah, it's cool to see the gathering of everybody there to work on that stuff.
Absolutely. And I would love to welcome in Chris is here and Patrick is here of Donahue Labs. Good to see you. Everybody's yucking it up in the chat. Very good. Thank you, Ma, for putting up both the Discord link and then also the link to Caleb here's channel.
Oh, thank you.
It's Freeform Lapidary. Definitely go and check that out. And okay, so there's folks in the chat that are talking about the obsidian, and it might be hard to come by for some of the folks that are in the chat. And so, like I did, I think last time, if you are having trouble getting obsidian, I've got some glass butte that I can send you. Like I would just say handle the shipping and I'll go ahead and toss you the stones to work with. I'd be happy to. And even if you needed slices, like if you don't have a saw, I can give you some slices. And so I would not like to see anybody not participate only because they don't have some obsidian. This is easy to come by.
All right. Yeah.
At least if you live near Glass Butte or Davis Creek or someplace like that,
Right.
no problemo.
Yeah, and even still, the material is relatively expensive. And even across all the other topics that we covered, like agates and jaspers or petrified wood, you can still source a piece for very, very cheap somewhere online. So,
Truly.
it doesn't have to be some big scary thing, but yeah, definitely reach out to some of the other members. There's a lot of members in our community on the Discord and outside of it that have a lot of the materials in abundance. So, don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah, definitely. Reach right out and, give give me a little flick in the forehead or something like that. I'll help you. We have Mr. Turtle Montana saying that polishing obsidian can be a huge pain in the glass. I agree at times. Although I really like polishing glass. Opal's like my favorite thing. And so when I started, I went from opal to obsidian. And so, yeah, I was just like, what is everybody complaining about? Like, this is great. And so, yeah, I think it's all right up here, guys.
One interesting, go ahead, do your comment.
Nope. You.
Okay. One interesting thing that I would like to see this month, I'm hoping there's maybe some closet flint knappers and some public flint knappers in the Discord. I'd like to see some flint knapping stuff since obsidian is a well-used material for that. So, that would be a great one for some of you guys out there if you want to mess with that or even learn.
Yep, there it goes out of the box. And I probably should have also had Theo on tonight. I think Tara or somebody was saying that they wanted to hear Theo gloat about the pixel, which would be fun. But also, like he is a crazy napper fool, and so would also probably be frothing at the mouth about the wonderful nature of what you just said, Caleb. Agree. Like I want to see some napping.
Well, maybe I'll work out a point. I nap a little bit, so I'll see if I can throw something out there too.
Nice. All right. And so does anybody know if there are good obsidian tumbling videos? I've included it in other loads, which don't go well, of course. Knew it wouldn't probably, but just had some small pieces. And so do you have any recommendations, Caleb?
I wouldn't be able to recommend any videos offhand, but I would say definitely if you're tumbling obsidian, only obsidian inside there, just because of the hardness of it. And you don't want the extra impacts and you don't want the scratching that the harder materials will do to it. So definitely if you want to get a batch, you could probably find some rough obsidian for cheap, a couple pounds or something, or a few pounds because it's a little lighter. you know, source it out and just try just that. Because when it's polished well, it looks fantastic.
Absolutely. And so, Tara, you might want to just post that same question over on the Discord to see if Theo has an answer for you. And then also, I believe that the channel Jaws Jr. has done a video on tumbling the obsidian as well. I've seen what he's done and he does a great job. I don't know if he leaves tips and tricks on that video, but I do know it's about tumbling obsidian. So, I mean, at the very least, you can see the methods that he's going through to exact what I believe in pictures looks to be scrumdiddlyumptiously well done. So, you might want to go check that out. And Mr. Turtle Montana is swooping in with this. Number one best way to tumble obsidian is to dry polish using corncob media. So there you go.
Very cool.
And so, yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Turtle Montana. And without further ado, I see that our other guest is waiting in the green room. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Corey. Good to see
Hello.
you.
Hey,
Do
Corey.
I sound okay?
You do.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you
good.
so much for coming on. It's great to see your smiling face.
Yeah, it was a struggle to get here.
Really appreciate you going through the hurdles.
Yeah, we had people out in the store. I think there might still be my mom's out there doing that right now. So I snuck into a
Okay.
back room. Usually I'd be over in my light box, but I had to sneak in the back.
we've got the back room Corey here.
Yeah.
Really quick, if you don't mind telling the audience what it is that you're hiding from in the back room, like, because I think that would be interesting for people to hear about.
You just mean about the store?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it was probably about 2.5 years ago. We started our store in Lincoln, Nebraska is where we're set up at. And so I've got a whole rock shop out front. Once people are gone, I can walk around and show if you'd like to see. But in the back here, I've got my whole cabin set up. One second, I'll show you the other rooms.
Awesome.
So we've got all of the cabin machines. I teach the lapidary classes. They're a little bit of a mess right now, but yeah,
Never apologize to fellow lapidaries about messes.
Yeah, I know.
Very
I know, it's pretty common.
Yeah, about grit. And so, hey, Caleb, do you want to hang around for the cab explanation? You want to,
Sure.
yeah, co-host. All right, sweet. And so, also, if you wouldn't mind, really quick, those of the folks that are out there watching right now might not be totally familiar with you. So, do you want to give us let us know about Lakers Lapidary and maybe how you got into this whole lapidary thing to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I never had a chance. It was since I was a little kid. I've been doing stuff. I'm 27 now. I got my first cabbing machine when I was 10. So, and then I was doing it for a couple years before that. So I've been doing it pretty much my whole life. In the last, probably 4.5 years, something like that, I started selling stones on Instagram, and so I got like a lot more consistent doing it then. But yeah, I've just been kind of doing it my whole life. If I wasn't doing it as a job, I'd be doing it as a hobby.
Awesome. Yeah, that's interesting. So you've kind of got it in your blood. There was no resistance, like it was futile,
Oh
right?
yeah, no, no, it was it kind of happened naturally. It was just I've always liked to go out and collect things, and then I've always done art. I went to an arts and humanities high school for a couple of years, and so whether it's been rocks or other things, I've always kind of done art of some sort.
Okay, that makes so much sense because I think my first exposure to you might have been over on Instagram.
Probably.
And
Yeah.
I would seriously like have to pick up my jaw off the ground at some of the artistry of your cabochons. I was just, it wasn't just that they were beautiful rocks or, because you do have a great eye for picking minerals. And it wasn't just like the fact that it was a well done technically cabochon. Like most of your cabs are actual artwork, which means that there's something creative about it as well.
Yeah, I'm very particular about like what area of the stone I'll bother cut. And like
Ah,
I'll oftentimes cut the whole stone, but it's like I only want to do something if it actually interests me. And so like I'll do the same thing again later, but it's usually a while between when I'll repeat things. And even if I'm going to repeat something, I always do something different than I did previously. Because it's just I don't like to get bored cutting rocks, and there's a lot of things that end up boring me fairly easily. So it's like if I'm gonna do it, it has to be interesting or unique in some way, something that I've seen somebody else do that I really like, or something that I've never seen anybody else do that I'm like, I wonder if you can do that. I wonder if it's possible to do.
absolutely. Caleb, you guys seem to have something in common there. I feel like maybe you're another guy that doesn't like to cut and be bored.
Yeah, definitely. I share a lot of the same sentiments when I'm looking at a slab or rock. I'm always trying to figuring out some unique way to orientate a shape to go with the pattern to make it
Mm-hmm.
interesting as possible, you know. I don't cookie cut a lot of things for the most part unless someone's requesting it, you know. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you'll see a bunch of slabs that I have that just have one cut, or like, you know, just one section removed, and that's all I wanted out of it, just because that was going to be something cool and unique. And so, yeah, share a lot of
That
the same
was the one
sentiments.
interesting part of the slot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? You guys are both the guys that eat the center out of the cookie.
Yep.
That's it. So, on that note, exactly, I have seen some very creative cuts from you, Corey, that seem to defy the whole cabochon thing. And I believe that you still are using a cabber, or do you actually carve
Yep.
some of those?
Nope. I'm doing it all using the just like the corner of the wheel. Oh, here, let's spin a little further. Just the like the corner of the wheel there, all the way down them. And so all of the angles and everything that I'm doing are using that. So see if you can see it.
Hey, there's one now. I
Yeah.
I, I knew you'd
Yeah,
have something.
yeah. It's like overexposing it, but you can kind of see what I'm doing.
Oh no, we
But
can see it
all
really
that
good
is
now.
done just using the corner of the wheel. So the thing about doing carving using the corner of the wheels, the deepest angle you can ever get is 90 degrees. And so you really have to spend a lot of time in planning to be able to accomplish something that looks deeper than 90 degrees while still only ever actually being 90 degrees. So it's like combining different angles. The height of your dome, the higher dome you do, the steeper of a curve you can have across the face of your stone. Whereas if it's
Right.
a flat face, you can only ever do a straight line. Because if you try and curve that line across the flat face, the line is going to go like you'll get a little line here and then another one there and another one there, and it won't look nice. And so you really
Right.
have to be careful with how you plan your stones.
I love that you're talking about the engineering.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
like
takes a lot of thought.
to me, the art of lapidary comes in the planning stages.
Ooh.
The uh, actual cutting is more of a craftsmanship because you're not like if sometimes you're making decisions as you're going, but a lot of the times the most successful ones done some planning in the previous stages, and that's where you're making all of your big decisions about how is this going to look in the end. And so there is art that comes along during the process, but a lot of that to me is more of a craftsmanship thing. You just kind of repeating the same steps over and over again and getting really good at doing those same steps over and over again.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, really. And, pretty much like a large swath of artistic endeavors are somewhat like that, where you have your planning and you have your inspiration, and they love to say that that's 10% and 90% of it is the perspiration or the troubleshooting, trying to,
Mm-hmm.
get that out
That's
of
a good
your
way to
head
put
and
that.
onto
Yeah.
the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
I feel
you
mean,
like
do that.
on some of the carvings that I do, the majority of it's really easy to polish, but in the very bottom of a V-shaped cut, getting a polish into that is really hard because on your soft wheels, the corner of the wheel itself wants to bend away,
right.
and so you actually have to like over angle it and push it into the wheel kind of hard, because that way when the wheel bounces back, it's bouncing into that 90-degree position rather than sitting above it and curling away. Like it wants to do that. It wants to curl up and away from your stone.
Ah.
And so you have to be careful because you can really put a lot of wear on the edge of your wheels.
Mm-hmm.
But in most
Yeah.
cases, most people aren't using the edge of the wheels at all. They're completely avoiding them. So really, in the end, as long as you're careful and don't, jam a sharp edge into the wheel, your wheel ends up being pretty much the same wear across the whole thing when you're polishing carvings like that.
Oh, that's brilliant. You're doubling down on the duty. I love
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah, getting as much use out of them as I can, and I really do use the wheels down to they are bare. I just replaced this one. You can see
Oh,
it was
that's a
down to you can
heartache.
see the webbing underneath.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
Hey, those
Yeah.
are
There's
perfect for
tears.
turquoise.
Ooh.
I don't know. They were struggling at the end.
Mm,
I was having a hard time getting sodalite to polish on one of
oh,
them. One of them had gotten really worn, and it was very not pleasant.
Man, I hear that. Tara's Treasures is saying, I love process. I'm fascinated with how each person approaches the same thing wildly differently, which is so true here. I feel like we're getting a master class on, the inside of your brain. Thank you so much for treating us
Oh
to that
yeah,
explanation.
it's always fun to talk about.
Oh, heck yeah. We could talk about rocks for hours. Hey, Caleb, do you have a question for Corey here?
well, it's more. I was gonna ask about what he just explained, which was getting a polish deep down in the groove there, because haven't had a chance to. I haven't reached out to talk to you about it, but since I started following you on Instagram and seeing all those cool carvings, I was really interested in how you were doing that. Um, And I think I saw on one of your posts you had said that it's all done on wheels, and that really boggled my mind because for a minute I was wondering if you're using some other kind of carving tools
Mhm.
or something just to get that little bit out of there. The rest of it I can see being able to be done, but just the deepest point in there. And
Yeah,
but that's really cool. You really explained it, and it's really fascinating because
part of the reason. Oh, sorry, I missed the
well,
last
yeah,
bit of
it's
that. It
just
cut out.
it's fascinating because we're so used to doming things, and oftentimes the higher dome you have on something can make it a bit easier to get the scratches and get a nice polish on it. And so when
Hmm.
you're doing that, it's like totally the opposite side of trying to do that. And so it's really interesting to see
Yeah,
and
and it
impressive.
depends. It depends on how sharp you want to keep your detail. Like sometimes I'm going for more uh, not as high relief, just like a subtle pattern to something. And sometimes I want it to be really dramatic. And I'm actually looking about like, okay, if a stone is going to sit vertically rather than like, you're never going to have it just sitting on the table. If it's going to be in a pendant, it's going to be sitting vertically, so it's going to cast shadows. So if you have a line carved horizontally, it's going to cast more of a shadow than a line carved vertically, because there's nothing for the shadow to catch on when it's a vertical line. And so I'm kind of doing that. Sometimes I don't want a shadow. I want it to just kind of show up as an angle. But sometimes I want it to cast shadows, and kind of that changes how the overall piece looks. The more shadows you have, the more dramatic the individual lines carved into the stone look.
That's fascinating.
I love that you're also taking into account, I'll bet you anything, this is something that folks don't really think about that much as a lapidary, and maybe even as a smith that is working with the jewelry smithing setting, is how the stone looks when you're looking at it. There's one thing about a palm stone, but if you're wearing it, I always orient my opals so that if you're holding it vertically as opposed to horizontally, that's where the flash is.
Right.
So that, and it seems completely pedestrian. Of course you would do that. But I made the mistake of working on the piece, at a horizontal as a beginning, lapidary and silversmith, setting it and thinking oh my gosh, this thing is electric neon on all the time, and then go to put it on, and it's flip the switch.
Yeah.
Oh.
That is one of those things that's really easy to forget about, because it looks so bright, but you don't think about how it's going to sit in the pendant.
Right. And so I like that you're thinking about that even with the cabochon. How does the light play work with even just an opaque rock? If you're creating those grooves and stuff like that, I mean, ask yourself in the audience, have you considered these things before? How cool is this?
And a lot of the times it's a more dramatic effect the more simple your rock. You just have a solid plain color. A shadow is going to make a more dramatic effect than on a piece of rock that has 1,000 colors and 1,000 patterns going on it.
Right.
And so sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a piece of material that has an interesting area and a boring area, and I'll leave the interesting area as a normal cab, and I'll do some carved lines into the section that is boring, just to add some texture back to an otherwise boring area.
I love it. I don't think it's breaking any rules to help the rock a little. What do you think, Caleb?
No, I fully agree.
This was a piece that I did recently. I was really playing around with the effects of the light in there, so you can see with those channels carved into there, the two parallel lines will light up at the same time as you're moving it.
Yes.
Yeah, that is so cool.
And that was all done around the cabbing machine. It's hard to tell, around that very center hexagon, there's those little triangles. Those little triangles are just the byproduct of where the lines were carved. And they just happen to show up, but then they create a whole separate dimension to it that wasn't ever there before.
Absolutely. I mean, just coming from a faceter's point of view, I love that there is another opportunity for both framing and for light play off of each one of those tiny little triangles. They all get their chance to do a little splash of color as you're moving the stone around. So how cool is that?
And whenever I can get more effect out of less work, it's preferable. So I'm already carving the lines, I'm already polishing those, so I don't have to do anything extra, and then I get a whole separate point in there that catches the light in a cool way. I'm all for that sort of thing.
Yeah, because
it takes enough time to polish a piece like that. The benefit to one like that was at a thulite, and it's fairly soft, so that piece only took me an hour start to finish.
Wow.
That's not bad.
But
for something as unique,
if I'm working with something harder, I was able to go 80 grit, and then I jump right to the 280, and then to the 1200, and then I go to Zam, and they're done. So when you can skip that many steps and each step only takes half the amount of time, you're like a quarter of the amount of time in the end as
Wow.
what you'd be otherwise.
Absolutely. So, I've been wanting to talk to you since the Rockhound podcast. We had you on the
Yeah.
schedule, and we kind of dissipated and didn't get a chance
Yeah.
to chat with you. And so I'm so glad for this rebate. But there is a reason why we have you here, and it is this right here. And well, I'm going to back that up a little bit because that is my jam. So we have this in duplicate now because it's also our background. And can
Mhm.
you tell us a little bit about this gorgeousness?
Yeah, that it's called Indonesian pocket rot wood. It is some of the coolest wood that's ever come out of the ground anywhere, in my opinion. It's from what I understand, it's basically like a palm wood, and so it's rotting from the center of each of those long vertical tubes in the piece of palm wood. Well, they're not interconnecting, and so even though visually, when you cut through them this way, they're less than a millimeter apart from each other. If you were to actually travel a path through the tubes to connect, like to go from one tube to the next, I mean, you could be like 5-10 feet because you have to go 5 foot up the log one way and then back down 5 foot the other way. So that's why the agates, even though they're right next to each other visually, can be so different.
I
Because
love that explanation. Thank you so much for that.
the actual like connecting path between them is a lot longer than it looks like it would be when they're cut open like that.
Awesome. Yeah, because I think that it's one of my favorite petrified woods, and all y'all out there that know me already know that I'm like already enough of a fanatic for petrified wood. But these are so they've got such character. They're so
Mhm.
delightful in all of the different shapes and colors of the mineralization that I've never seen two pieces that look the same, although it's identifiable by sight. They just are
Yeah.
gorgeous.
I have one here. This is the other one off that same rock, so I cut the larger cab out of it.
Let me see if I can get that.
Yeah.
Wait, whoop, nope. We're gonna get you on here in just a second. Let me get that guy down.
Yeah.
And we'll get you big. It's just taking organization here.
Yep,
There we
there we
go.
So
Wow.
that one, that was the other part off the rock that didn't have the druzy. So I specifically cut the other cab to be the only area that had druzy. And then this was the part that was left over, left over. It wasn't like it was a bad thing or anything. But I kind of left the natural wood grain around that top edge.
Oh, I love
and
that.
Then just did that maximized what I was going to get out of it.
Yeah, love the live edge. That is
Big
super
fan of
hot,
live edges.
right?
And that stuff is really hard because the white on the edge of those is probably about as hard as limestone.
Yikes.
It's very, very soft. It's heavily degraded when they sit on the surface. That's why they get darker as you go in from the outside of the log, because that surface heavily eroded away and degraded. So it's like that was harder to do than you would imagine. Keeping that even, you have to just I pretty much avoided that until I was on the 1200, I think.
Wow.
So I left it sitting high until I got to the 1200, and then I lowered it down and got it even.
Wow. We're going to give the bell to Mr. Turtle Montana here really quick. What do you call a Frenchman wearing sandals? It's Philippe Philape. Thank you, Turtle. It's always a pleasure. And so we'll go ahead and take that down. And so actually you were showing us, it's so great that you have the cab right there. I had some pictures of the cab, but it's even better to see it live and in person.
I
So
have the other one. Let me grab the other one really
yeah,
fast.
that would be great. And so
I have something to add just to that little
that would be
topic, that
awesome.
what he just said about the transition and hardness towards the edge. The cab that I had submitted, I had the same issue and tackled it the exact same way. And so, because I had that kind of fat teardrop shape like that,
Yeah.
the top section of it where it was lighter in color, like that yellow whitish color, it was much softer. And so I did the same thing, had to wait till further down in the progression to bring that
Mhm.
down in line and then get a polish as best as it would take, because it was a little porous.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, that's kind of cool. You had the same thing there.
So this is the larger cab.
Oh man.
So I get it
I
out
love
of
that we're
focus, you
seeing
can
the
actually see the sparkle
background.
a little bit better.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, oh,
we're
that's what
seeing
I
it.
love about that, is how you can actually like see the holes completely through it.
And the turquoise color of your wall, it really complements the colors in that stone.
Yeah, it looks
It looks
like there's
so
turquoise
nice.
inlaid in there.
Oh my god. I need some
Yeah, I
material that
want
looks just
that.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that is
There's the
just
back of it.
fantastic. So do you always
Killer.
polish your backs?
Yeah, it's a.
Asking for a
It
friend.
doesn't matter how small this. Like the stone could literally be like a 5 millimeter stone. I'll still polish it back.
Right on.
It's
And so,
just I can't not do it. It bugs me when they're not done.
aw. So do you do it on your cabber or do you do it on a flat lap?
I do it on the cabbing machine.
Ah, all right. There you go.
I have a silicon carbide belt sander, just like an expandable drum. And so one thing I find helps a lot is I get a low grit silicon carbide is aggressive, but it will leave a fairly smooth finish. And so I'll always take pretty much any stone that I'm doing and sand the back with like a slightly used like 36 grit sandpaper. And that 36 grit is smooth enough that it's ready to go right to the 600 grit diamond wheel.
Wow. Awesome.
So I can go right from the 80 grit, like roughly ground 80 grit, to the 36 grit silicon carbide sanding belt, then to 600 diamond.
Yeah. I love when you can figure out good hacks for, like you said, how to make your life easier.
Uh-huh. It's
This
like,
is a good
well,
thing.
you know, when I'm trying to do a sale somewhere and I have to have like around 100 stones done, and you multiply one process by 100 times, every little like 30 seconds you can save on 100 stones, that's a lot of time.
Oh
So it's
man,
like
yes.
I try and save as much as I can. And I'm also like, I love getting to polish rocks, but I'm also kind of impatient when it doesn't work like it should be working. And so I like to have things like that I know will always work. And also, it's only $4 to replace a silicon carbide belt rather than $250 to replace one of my wheels on my Titan.
Yeah, those Novas aren't a joke, and yet they're so
So
delicious you have to.
yeah, this last one that I went with the Johnson Brother Supernova wheels. I'm still making up my opinion on them.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to keep us
I
updated on that. I would love to know.
Yeah, the texture isn't quite right. Texture matters more than anything else when you're polishing on a wheel. And the texture is good. There's enough diamond in there, but it's just not quite right. And I'm having a hard time polishing like larger slabs. Like I can do that just fine on a Nova wheel. But it's mostly working, but I haven't quite figured it out yet.
Isn't that interesting, the differences between wheels to wheels, like the different makers? I know Caleb's going through this right now.
Yeah. Just a couple months ago, got my first set of Nova wheels, and so I'm still in the learning phases and the breaking in while I'm learning phase, which is really difficult if that's like your first time, because
Yeah,
as you
yeah.
keep going and you're learning, the wheels are changing, and so you're still learning and changing.
You're
And so,
learning through the entire lifetime of the wheel.
right. And so that's been really interesting. And they are really great. Right now, they're still
Mhm.
probably a bit aggressive for some
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So I'm, that's, you're working with how much pressure you're putting and stuff like that. But I went from stock Cab King wheels to these wheels. And so that is like a
Oh, that's a
world of
world of
difference.
difference. Yeah,
And so like I got to a point with those where they're technically, for the type of wheel they are, they still have life, and they're actually quite perfect for softer things like turquoises and varicites.
mhm,
But I couldn't polish agates hardly. Like I would be spending so much time on each wheel to get the
yeah,
scratches out because they don't have the inherent texture that like
yeah.
Novas and even the upgraded REZ wheels from Cab King and Johnson Brothers and all those have. And so yeah, it's been
Just be
interesting.
happy you didn't start with Kingsley North wheels.
Why is that?
That's all I'm gonna say. They suck.
Okay.
Aw. Yeah,
I've got those. I do not like them.
I like that
Well,
you
good to
don't love
know.
throwing shade, but you got to be realistic and true. So we
I mean,
appreciate
it's like,
both of those
yeah.
things.
Well,
Yeah.
the problem with those when I got them is they were glassy smooth, and you got to
Oh,
have texture on the wheel. Otherwise, you can have 10 times the amount of diamond, but if your wheel doesn't have the right texture, if the resin doesn't have the right texture, it does not reach out and like get into the flat areas. Like that's how I'm able to polish my backs, is
Yeah.
because that little texture sticks out and will get into every little groove as it's spinning around. And so as you rotate your stone, it's hitting every spot. But if your wheel is smooth, when you push a hard stone into a resin wheel, the wheel bends out like that.
right.
And so that's why it only wants to polish around the edges. But if you have teeth sticking out, the little resin fingers, then it will polish just fine.
Yeah. And
So
that's
Right.
why
like
I
that's been
started polishing the backs of my stones, a lot of them now, just for that same reason.
mhm. Yeah, I
So
I
mean,
wasn't able to before.
yeah, I wouldn't do it if if I didn't have the right wheels. Um, it's you have to have somewhat well working wheels. Like if they get too worn, even the Nova, they'll get to the point where you can't polish your backs, or you can, but it's a huge pain. They don't turn out quite right. Um,
right.
but as long as they're like somewhat good, they work great for polishing backs.
So really quick, Ma put up the Instagram link for Corey's Instagram. So definitely, follow that and save it so that you can scroll endlessly later, because a bunch of like that's how I stumbled upon Corey's work, was definitely that. And then Mr. Turtle Montana. Oh, hi Lisa, good to see you. Mr. Turtle Montana was asking, how often do you have to replace that 600 diamond?
Um, I don't like to replace a single wheel or two wheels. I like to replace them all at the same time. Um, like I find if that those the 280 and the 600 get quite worn quite fast. But then if you replace those while your 1200 and 3000 are still working, but not as like not brand new, the 280 and the 600 leave it almost too rough to get all the scratches out on the 1200. So I generally will wait and replace them. 6 months is too long um, for me, but I like the last one I waited like 7 months, I think, because it was when I had the money to replace them.
So how, like, that's a good time frame, like, for I know everybody right now all at once is going like, how long do my wheels last? But I gotta ask you the question, because you
Yeah,
you cut so many rocks, and
yeah.
so
I
like,
mean, I'm
how many rocks?
I'm cutting a lot more than most people would on their
Yeah.
wheels. So like for what an average person would cut, like the Nova wheels should last years and still be fine. Um, but like in a productive week, I'm cutting a lot of the times 100 and a productive couple weeks is usually how long it takes me to get ready for a sale. But I'm doing a good 130, 140 stones in that amount of time, which is what some people would cut in like years on their machine. So it just depends on the person. But for
Yeah.
me, yeah, I mean, like 4 months would be preferable to replace my wheels.
But
But
it's a
sometimes
cost effective thing, right?
yeah, I mean, like the Nova wheels, it's a big upfront cost, but it's worth your money. I like they overcharge, but they give you quality. Like
Right.
they really should be cheaper. They're not like twice as good as the one beneath them, but they are definitely the best.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's
they're
worth
still
it.
twice the price.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
so
it's like it can be kind of a scary number to look at and say, oh, it's going to be $600, $800 to replace my wheels, but it's worth it. Also, shop around. Make sure you're getting them for cheaper because they are like $150, $200 cheaper for the whole set, depending on where you get them from.
that is a really good tip for sure. And so I want to ask Caleb really quick. How long did your wheels survive? What did you find to be the good pace for your wheels?
Well, like I said, I was using the Stop Cab King wheels, and I had 2 sets, and I used those for years. Just muscling through, like the stones took a lot longer to cut, so the production was a lot slower, and I wasn't like a full-time lapidary, so I had those for years and just kept going through it. And then I think at some point I even got some some REZ wheels. And just one note I would like to say, like you were talking about, don't replace one wheel. I had bought like a 280 and a 600 REZ wheel, and I didn't replace the 12 or 3000. And you cannot get the scratches out with that big a difference in the wheels, especially
Yeah,
because the REZ wheels are very textured and the stocks are smooth. You
yeah,
have to replace them all. It is a
yeah.
nightmare. You'll be very frustrated. And so anyway,
And
they did last me years. I'm hoping I do cab quite a bit, definitely not as much as you do, but I still expect these to last me quite a long time, probably over a year. I do work a lot of softer stuff, and so those are, less impactful on the wheels and things like that. So we'll see.
yeah,
Thanks for
what I
your
cut changes
answer there.
depending on how worn my wheels are.
Right?
Like a week ago I was cutting soft stuff, but now that I've got my new wheels, I can cut hard stuff and it's not even a problem.
Right, and you gotta break them in.
Mhm.
I had been avoiding the Montana agates because I didn't wanna, spend hours and hours and hours on a single stone trying to get it all polished down, and when I got my, I've got the Novas on a 6, it's the Kingsley North 6, and it was so much fun to just do Montanas to break it in because I
Mhm.
was like,
Mhm.
yay, I can finally do the Montanas and they're going lickety split, I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
this is great.
something that was taking you 20 minutes to do before now takes you 3, 4 minutes
Right.
maybe.
Not
It's
me.
like no, well, but I'm just saying it is that much faster. Where it's like,
Yeah.
you go to face polish a little agate, and it takes you 15 minutes to get a good polish on it when the wheels are a little bit more worn. And it's like if you're going fairly quickly and it's just a simple agate, but the same thing on a brand new set of wheels. If you have them set up where you can just run right across, I can do the same thing in 2 minutes.
Ah,
And it's just like you get to the end of your wheel life and you start to feel like it's a problem with your skills. Like, what am I doing wrong? Then you replace your wheels and you're like, oh, it wasn't me. It was the wheels were worn out. And then I get frustrated with it. And so I like probably start pushing a little too hard and put little scratches in there and have to go
Oh
back and fix
yeah.
the scratches because I got impatient. And, so it's like you just start to get more and more frustrated by doing it. And then it's like, I can tell when I start to want to not finish things. I want to just start things. Like, okay, time to replace my wheels. Because
Caleb
they
doesn't
should be
know
cutting,
about
you know.
that.
There are many unfinished cabs in my shop.
Oh
for that
no,
reason.
trust me. I've got probably 1,400 cabs that are like finished, that ones that haven't sold over the years. So like we have our shop here. We go and do shows, things like that. So it's nice to have some inventory to take around. But those 1,400 plus, I've probably sold, I don't know, another 1,000 over the last couple years of doing it. I've got at least twice that many that are like started, trimmed out, but not any further, or I got a March, or there's always 1,000 projects going on.
Right?
Mhm.
And then there's that one thing that's beguiling you, like
Mhm.
the current or the next month, which is the month of June, you got to select the subject for our cab contest.
Yeah.
And this makes me want to put everything to the side and
Mhm.
just indulge. So why don't you go ahead and let us hear about both what the cab contest subject is, and then also I would love to hear what inspired you to choose this as the subject.
So the theme was called "What's the Point?" It was a double entendre. It was, what's the point of, like, why would somebody make a cab that is 100 millimeters long by 6 millimeters wide out of obsidian? Like, what? And it gets thinner at the tips. It's like a millimeter wide at the tips. What's the point of that? That's kind of the fun thing. It's like, because I wanted to see if I could do that. The other meaning of that was literally, it was a long pointy stone. So it's like, what's the point? That was kind of the joke with that. But
Yeah.
what I like to see people do is go weird, like make things that they are not necessarily don't necessarily have a point, like, but just to see if they can physically do it with the equipment that they have. Like, it just doesn't really matter what it is. Like, how big of a stone can you cut? Like, I cut a circle once that was probably about that big, and it was a dome. What was that? I think it was like 5 inches across,
Hmm.
and it was domed.
Wow.
So like, the dome on that was, I don't know, I think it was a slightly thicker slab to start with. It was like 8 millimeter thick slab. And then it goes down to about 4 out at the edges. So I like,
Wow.
across a stone that big, that's a super shallow dome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
Impressive.
it just, seeing how perfect I can get that. Like, what I like to do is look at under like a light that is like a straight bar light, and when you move that across a stone, looking at how straight those lines are, how wobbly they get. I don't know if I can really show it here, but like when you move those across,
Yeah.
you can see like it kind of stretches out in some areas. Like down here, it kind of catches a little bit, where the curve wasn't quite right. But I was basically just seeing on a stone like that, how impractical can I go and still have it come out like as perfect as I can get it. And so like that's kind of what I like to see people do, is like something that they wouldn't normally do, because no one would ever like ask you to make that for a piece of jewelry, because it would be so fragile or so huge, or that's what I want people to do.
Sweet. I love that so much. And not only is it fun because of the artist cabber in everybody's little minds,
Mhm.
trying to go off and think, okay, how do I explore and approach this particular challenge. This is good. But also the jeweler in me, you know, the silversmith in me is going like, and how do I make this thing that I want to create the cab around? How would I set it? And
Yeah.
actually that's part of the fun for me. You know, when I see something that's wild and crazy like some of your cabs, I'm going like, oh, that's so exciting, because it would make me do a different setting than I ever had done before. And
Mhm.
so, you know, you're out of the box and doing something super creative when you're working with a creative cabochon.
And that's what I like also to do is when I'm cutting something, I am like, I'm not designing it, because a lot of the times everyone has their own way of designing a pendant or a ring. But if you add in a little bit of something interesting, like a lot of the times you're going to try and get your edge of your stone perfectly smooth. But, you know, sometimes I'll do that, leave a rough edge, because you can do a bezel set around the bottom, around your normal edges, and then like a couple prongs that come up over the top to hold it down in there. Or like I'll even leave a little notch out of an edge,
I love that.
because it gives you an opportunity to cut out a little section of the bezel, and that way you can see down into the stone. You know, a lot of the times I want to have a nice clean edge, but if it has a cool spot in the stone that's worth doing a void, I will do it. I won't grind all that away. And I think that's where a lot of people they have a plan and they just stick to it the entire way. I have a plan, but it's like a scribbles on a piece of paper, you know. I kind of know what I want, but the rock changes, and so I'll change with the rock as
Boy,
things break, or you have a void that you didn't expect, or you know, whatever.
that's good
Kind of work
advice,
with it.
because either you change with the rock or the rock breaks you. You know, it's
Yeah.
one or the
I
other.
mean, the rock is going to do what the rock wants to do.
Yeah.
If you if you have a plan and you try and force it on the rock, a lot of times the rock is going to win. But if you make your plan based on that rock, and you kind of change your plan as the rock changes, a lot of the times you can fit your plan exactly, even though it wasn't your original plan. And that is a lot of the times why I don't like to cut stones for an already made setting, because yes, I can cut that shape just fine, but forcing a rock into that shape when it's the only rock that I have to fit into there is a lot harder. And it can take 2-3 times as long, even for a simple shaped stone, to fit it into something that's already made.
Right.
Because it has to fit exactly. Oh, I can't hear you.
Karen,
I'm
I
sorry.
think you're muted.
Yeah.
Or microphone. There's a lot of reason why I don't do certain calibrated stones.
Yeah.
You know, the time it takes to get them right, you know, especially like,
Yeah.
you know, rounds are kind of easier than I think ovals calibrated are.
Mhm.
It's just, you know, people expect something to be kind of super perfect in that scenario, and it's time consuming to get them just right.
Like, yes, you can cut that, but it's going to take, even for a small stone, 2-3 times as long. And so the cost, even for a tiny little thing, if you got to charge somebody for it, it's got to be a lot higher, because, I mean, people don't realize that a 5 millimeter stone and a 20 millimeter stone take about the same amount of time to cut,
Right. You know,
because
and there was
they're
a point
just,
in
it's
time
so
in
much more of
history.
a pain to cut a small, tiny thing.
Right.
Can you
There
hear
was a
me
point in
now?
time. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep on. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say there was a point in time in history where the majority of cabs that were being produced were all calibrated or mostly
Mhm.
calibrated stones, like, you know, in previous generations. And so it's interesting
Yeah.
to see the shift away from
All
that.
the 3x5 ovals and everything like that.
Right. Well, there was a lot of mass-produced, settings being made, and so people had to match what was being produced to set this jewelry in, and now it's really different now.
And that makes me happy to see. It's always kind of frustrating. Like, I get why they did it, but it's frustrating to look back, see some incredible old piece of material cut into a boring oval.
Right.
And they'll take the slab and mark it right out of the middle of the slab, and it's like, come on, guys.
So really quick, the question that Sol was trying to ask, and I do want to make sure to get an answer, because we don't want anybody in the masses to be frustrated here.
Yeah.
So she was wondering, does the cab have to have a point, or can we make round cabs?
It does not have to have a point. It just has to be impractical in some way. However you interpret that. However you interpret the word impractical, that's what I want you to aim for. Something where you're like, why would I do that? And is it possible to do?
Right.
However you interpret that, however, doesn't matter what your skills are, just however you interpret that to a point that you think you can accomplish it. Like, whatever your skill cap is, up here. Not way up here, but just a little above, like where you think you can go.
Yeah, reach over the overhang, rock climbing.
Yeah. Something where you're like, this has like a 50-50 chance of breaking while I'm cutting it. That would lean very well into. Like I did that long.
Everyone.
Yeah, like when I did that long skinny cab. So the other point about that one, I don't know if you saw what that one was called. That is one of the few cabs I've ever done that has a name, and it's literally called the Jeweler's Nightmare. Because it was like my design philosophy, some big words for that. My design philosophy for that one was like, if I was making a stone for something that was going to set this, what could I do to make their life as hard as possible?
Yeah.
Not like they would ever set it. I've had a few people that said they actually want to try and set it, so it might get set eventually.
It might be terrible, but like I would love to take a shot at that.
Yeah. But it's like I followed every technical definition of like what a cab would be. Nice flat back, straight sides, domed top, really good girdle around the whole thing, like as straight as I could possibly get it. So it still follows a cab by every other definition, but it's so impractical that, like, why would you ever make that? And then I'm like, because I can't.
Right. Yeah. And what did you learn? Like, I'm all about, it sounds totally trite, but like, the whole, the journey thing, as opposed to when you get there thing, like you try something that's different.
I learned that obsidian really does not like to be cut into a long, skinny cab like that. I think it was about 105 millimeters long when I started. And I think it was like 98.5 by the time I finished. Because I did have little chip outs on the end. But by the time I fixed the curve, and got it to be a point that I was happy with, it was just slightly under. I was aiming for 100 millimeters. So I thought I left myself enough. I needed to leave myself a little bit more. But, that's the other thing I've learned is, like, whenever you're trying to aim for something, always give yourself a little bit extra room and don't remove something until you absolutely have to remove something. Wait until the last possible second, because if you remove something too early and then you decide that you need it, well, you can't put it back on there.
Right.
Oh boy, howdy! That's so true about I like that you're talking about in lapidary reserving things, because you can't uncut something.
No.
You can always take away. So it's always about subtraction and not addition. Like that's lapidary math for you right there.
The only way it goes where you can add things together is in Tarja, and that's a whole different world.
Truly. Yep. And so Tara's Treasures was talking about she loves the weird nature of this challenge. And I agree 100%. I was reading over the comments during the explanation, and even though some folks are like, okay, this is weird enough that I need to ask more questions, like so that like I'm clear on what I'm doing before I jump over the cliff or I reach over the overhang. But like yeah, really enjoying, I think, the creative prodding that's going on here. Definitely appreciated.
So that long cab originally started as a friend of mine. He did one like that as well, and I think his was like 75 millimeters long and the same width. And so it was like he wasn't sure if he was going to do it, and I'm like, do it. I want to see you do it. And then when he did that and it came out really well, then he's like, now you do it. If I had to do it, you have to do it. And so I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I may as well try and show him up a little bit. And so it's like, that's kind of where that came about. And just the fun part of like, doing it just for the fun of doing it, not like, and I say fun, it's pretty painful sometimes trying to do things like that, but it's still fun, even when it's painful. You know what I mean?
Truly, yes. And I think that that is where the community comes in. The fact that we're having a challenge isn't about like, show us how. We love to see how good you are. We do. And we know that we're among some really talented people, and it's amazing to see what everybody does. But, it's not about like how hard you can flex, like what the good. It's like how different can you make your skills wrap around? And so, I think that that's actually the value of our group here, is that, people are pushing people off of cliffs and making them do things that are new, and it just makes you better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know personally when I voted on the last couple, yes, I'm looking at like a skill level and how attractive the thing is in the end, but I'm also looking at like somebody's design philosophy, because somebody that's brand new into something, I've met people that are brand new into something that are great at designing stones. They don't have the skill level to do them come out great, but their designs behind them are amazing. And I've known other people that have done it for years. They cut an amazing stone, but they kind of bore me. And so it's like I will vote kind of on a combination of all those, is like, how attractive is this? How well is it cut? And then like, how good did somebody actually follow the idea behind it? Like, how deep did they go into designing their stone? How many options did they try to come to that final one they stuck with?
And that's the goal. That's why I have that kind of section down in like the post about like some general guidelines to think about when you are making your decision. Like, did they follow the theme? How well was the cab constructed? Like how, all these little elements that, just to think about when you're looking at it. Like, like we have a lot of great cabs, but, did something kind of hit the mark,
Yeah.
And so that's why that's there. Same line of thinking.
And
like, I know. Oh, sorry, you go.
Okay, just really quick. I also like it when the selection of the material is challenging. A lot of times it's been subject oriented. So, if it's obsidian or whatever, then the opal, whatever, great, fossil. But there, you get like extra points if there's a nod to like you were saying with this cab challenge, it seems impossible, but I did it anyway. I love that. Like how, like if you get me scratching my head as to like, wow, how did you do that? Like that's so refreshing. It's fun that there's that.
And that's where I like to aim. It's like, how or why did you do that? But it's cool anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always remarkable to see. And so actually, thank you so much as far as explaining what we're doing for the month of June. So we have the cab contest being what's your point? What's the point? And so everybody go over to Discord. You can see the submissions. You can discuss the submissions on another channel. And so wonderful. And so I would like to ask you a question just to round this discussion off. And this is for actually both of you, Corey and Caleb. What would you tell you, but like when you were first getting into it? So you're here now and you have all this amassed wisdom and you've done all this stuff, but you could look back at struggling you when you first started off and you could tell you something. What would you tell you? And I'll start with you, Corey.
That's a hard question.
Best advice you could possibly pull out for the poor
me.
you. Yeah.
So, like, I guess I've never really like struggled to want to cut stones, but there was, I think the longest I've gone since I was 10 or whatever that I haven't cut a stone was, there was like 6 months. I think it was either when I was near the end of high school or right after I graduated where I didn't cut a stone. That was the longest I've ever gone, like not cutting a stone. And it's like I got out of it for a while and I just had a hard time getting back into it. And sorry, people talking in the background. Just getting back into it was really hard, and it was just kind of like I just had to force myself to do something, even if it wasn't like something that I didn't have any ideas. I was just like getting on the wheels. You'll get ideas. Forcing yourself to do something, even when you don't feel inspired to do it, just like make yourself do something normal, something boring, and spend a while doing something boring, and eventually you'll sit there being bored and you'll come up with like, well, if I was doing this I'd be more interested. Well, then do that, and then you have ideas and you can go from there.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I love that so much. And that is how you get like half done projects around the studio, is that like you started by putting your shoes on so that you could go for the run, but then you like got sidetracked and you were like, okay, now I'm totally into it. And now I'm going to go ahead and do that thing that I want to do. That's great. Love that. So Rob Thomas is saying he would tell his younger self to get the 8-inch wheels. Good advice.
The problem with that is you have to have the 8-inch machine first to put the 8-inch wheels on.
Yeah. True story. Wow, that was really, really good. Thank you so much, Corey. What about you, Jahik? What do you say to yourself?
I don't know. I think I would tell myself to not feel intimidated by other artists. And that kind of hits on multiple facets. So like one of them would be like when I started, I had there was some YouTube content I could watch, some articles I could read on how to polish things, but I didn't have a teacher or anything. I just got them. Well, before I started with other tools, but when I got my machine, I just dove in and started going for it and trying to learn. And I was intimidated to reach out to people who had more experience and ask them questions about how to work certain materials or just little tips and tricks and shortcuts you can take. And it made for some frustrating moments, and I just crash coursed my way through it. And eventually, I kind of got over that. But now like I reach out to people on Instagram all the time, but when I see them polishing something that I struggle with, I'm just like, the worst they're going to do is ignore me. So, or just tell me they're not going to tell me the secret or whatever, but I'll reach out. And so to all of you guys out there polishing in different ways, or doing any other aspects of, lapidary art or jewelry making and stuff, like, do not feel intimidated or afraid to reach out to people who are doing what you want to be doing. Little tricks, there's just so many little tips and tricks that you can learn, like being able to skip wheels, when with certain materials, and being able to jump around and save you time. It's just like little things. And so, I think I would tell myself something like that.
That is really amazing advice.
Yeah, I like that advice.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Yeah, I think that probably works for everybody, including myself. And I'll still bring myself up short. It's like I might feel comfortable asking somebody in, say, the cabbing community about a thing, but the faceters, like the people who are really good at that, I'm like, I don't know, like, you're a big shot. People know your name. I don't know if I can talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing sometimes when, like, if I'm going to reach out to somebody, I want to make sure I have at least a somewhat intelligent sounding question to ask them. I don't want to ask them like the most basic question that I could probably figure out myself. Like, I want to have something somewhat intelligent sounding. Well, if you're so new into it that you don't know what intelligent questions there are to ask, it's hard, and it's like kind of intimidating to do that. But it's like, I usually, if I'm going to do that, I try and at least know enough about something, like dive deep enough into something myself where I can go like, okay, this isn't working. Why isn't it working? Here's a couple thoughts, and then be like, is it A, B, C, or a third option D that I don't even know about,
Yeah.
And that way you at least sound like, for them answering the question. I know that goes that way for me sometimes. For them answering the question, you're not talking to someone that is totally new, someone that has put a little bit of effort into and asking you the question. And that way you can give them a better answer back. Because if it's the most simple question, well, sometimes you're like, well, I've answered that 1,000 times. I don't really feel like answering it 1,001 today. But if it's a slightly different question than what they may have normally been asked, they're usually more likely to answer you too.
Yeah, agreed. I like that. As far as when you're a white belt, try to do as much research as possible so that you can, if you're talking to the black belt, you can come up with something that isn't just pedestrian. Terrace Treasures Terrace Treasures is saying, my experience, if the rock community has been, almost everyone is kind, and I think I got a word in there wrong, but kind, generous, and welcoming, and I would agree with that for sure. And so there is the do your time writing the struggle bus before you call. And there's a certain amount of that. Although, like, I've talked to people who, like, seriously, just needed help right in the beginning. And sometimes all they do need to hear is like, you're on the right track. I got your back. You can call me or whatever, And so I get it. Like, don't feel like you're in a straight jacket riding the struggle bus and nobody's going to help you, like, don't drive over 50 miles per hour or don't go below 50 miles per hour before, your bus blows up, anything like that. It's okay. No, we'll help you.
And, there is a benefit sometime to just going at a single project all by yourself, not asking questions, just doing it and knowing you're going to screw up. And then when you screw up, then you have a lot of questions that you can ask.
Yeah.
and things you
Right.
can try and fix next time. So it's like you go into that first one just like, I know I'm gonna mess this up. I'm just gonna try and see how it comes out, and then you have a
Hmm.
baseline, and you can
Right.
work out from there.
That's
But
why
when you don't
I
have a
always tell
baseline,
people,
you don't know if you're gonna be good or not good or anything like that.
right? That can be applied with materials too, like people working opals, which seems to be hot right now, and working nice turquoises and other expensive things. It's like,
Yeah.
don't be scared, just try it, like if you mess up a
Mhm.
little piece, it's not the end of the world, but you have now you know what to do. You have that baseline, like you said, like, oh, okay, now I
Yeah.
need to try things a little different. Yeah, it's pretty important. Just don't be scared.
Awesome.
Yeah. I worked past being scared many, many years ago.
Yeah.
I have things that I don't like to do still, but that's different than like I'm intimidated to do them. It's just like, well,
Right.
I've tried it and I didn't enjoy it. And those are the things that I will specifically, if I can find a bunch for cheap, I will just spend a week of like torture and just do those and be like, okay, I'm going to do this until I get like at least okay at doing it. And then once I get to that point, if I never want to do it again, I don't have to.
There you go.
Very
But
good.
I just don't like having things that I don't like know how to do. It's like if I don't know how to do something, well, I want to figure out how to do it. That way I can figure out if I want to do it.
Absolutely. And I like what you just said about like just get a parcel of it. I think a lot of people go into a certain material feeling like it's too precious for them. And if you feel like it's too precious, you're probably not going to achieve a whole bunch of learning because you're going to be holding back and you won't try the dynamic solutions because the thing is too precious. Like if I had something to tell little Karen, who was just stepping into the silversmithing at first or the lapidary at first, uh, girlfriend, nothing's precious. Melt the metal, break the rocks, just get over it. In fact, you might want to just
Yeah.
go in and be a bull in the china, shop, like right from the get-go to get it out of your system so that you can kind of start being gentle and hone in. But nothing is precious. It can't be. Until you're working on somebody else's stones. Then you can.
Yeah, that's
Then it's a
the most
problem.
heavy.
Yeah. Then it could be the most plain rock ever, but you can't replace it.
Right.
And if you can't replace it, it's a one of a kind.
I do it, but please don't ask me to cut your opals.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about cold sweats. They used to kill people for that, like you break somebody else's opal. All right. So you guys, thank you so much for hanging out for so long. I asked for a few moments of your time and you gave way beyond what I asked for. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
And
Always fun to talk rocks.
oh my gosh, yes. Corey, thank you so much for meeting with us. I know it was just after work and you're a couple hours into the future, and so it's got to be getting late for you as well.
Well, I'm usually up until about 4 or 5 in the morning, so
Ooh, good to know.
this is like middle of the day for me right now.
I know some night owls. If I'm having a problem faceting at 2 a.m., I can ask Theo. Like I still can ask Theo. So it's super cool that we know that now you're part of the night shift. This is good.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the times our store closes at 8 o'clock. And so if I didn't work at night, I would just get nothing done at all. So my working day starts at 8 and then goes for a while after that for me to get anything done for myself.
Oh man, and like I have mad respect for that kind of tenacity after a day's work. I used to have a brick and mortar as well. And so, I would go in early and my time to get work done was usually before my shift started. And then afterwards, I would want to go and punch a bag, basically, like after dealing with people all day. But you can take that out on the rocks. I see your rationale there. This is good.
Yeah. I'm not a morning person, so it usually takes me at least 3 hours to once I'm awake to get to the point that I can do anything that's like creative. So
Mm.
like by the time I get to that point, I'd have to be getting here at like 5 in the morning.
Ugh.
And then by 8 o'clock, then I'd be ready to actually do some stuff. So it's like it works out for me to spend that part of the day with the store open, and then at the end of the day, when we close, then I can go out and work on stuff in the back.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we so appreciate you being part of this community and putting forth the gorgeous gems in our eyes. You do such marvelous work.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Caleb, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Do you have any
Thanks for
parting
having me.
questions for Corey?
Let's see. No, not really.
Okay.
Okay.
We
If I
covered
do,
it
I'll
for
reach
now.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Answer
We're
all
all
your
over there on
questions.
the Discord.
Yeah.
So go definitely you want to follow Corey over on the Instagram and like always gorgeous things to see, all fresh material basically all the time. What are your other socials that people can follow you at?
Pretty much just do Instagram.
Okay. All right.
Instagram, and then I'm on the Discord here. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. I don't really. I'm on Facebook, but I never post anything there. I'm just in the rock groups there. So
Okay, great to know that I wasn't missing anything.
Yeah.
I always look forward to seeing your posts on the Instagram, and of course, go and check out Freeform Lapidary here on YouTube, and you're also on the Instagram, so you can follow.
Yep.
Over there, and of course over on the Discord where we all hang out and have a great time. So go do the Makers Challenge, do the Cabochon Challenge, and I'll see you blokes later, and we're gonna go ahead and look at some pixel cuts here, so stick around everybody who's in the chat and watching too. So thank you guys. Cheers.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right. Wow. That was such a super duper cool discussion. I am so pumped. I want to do like some cabbing tonight really bad. And I really appreciate everybody's comments who were playing along in the chat. Hopefully you've got your chat bar open. If you're watching this in replay, open up the chat because there were some really good comments that happened in the discussion. Those that were playing along in the chat, wherever that is relative to where I'm pointing. And Mr. Turtle Montana is saying, fell asleep at the wheels last night, was startled awake when my foot got heavy on the flex shaft pedal and started grinding the side of my cabber. Oh my gosh. Be careful. I can only see somebody's like forehead with like, you know, one of the wheel marks like down the center of your forehead. So do be careful. Every now and again, one of the dogs will step on my Fordham foot pedal and like it'll start whirring, you know, like giving the dog a little hanging there. So yes, be careful. And I love those comments about the struggle bus, you guys. It looks like we're going on a road trip. And Brian and Julie are driving us there. So thank you guys. That was awesome. And what I would love to do is we'll be doing more of these discussion style hangouts. We'll have more guests going on the Friday Night Lives, and I would really encourage you guys. I'll post in the in the future who's going to be on and what kind of questions you guys can ask. You know, that like if you post up a question, I'll go ahead and ask our guest a question, but you can also do that in the chat. And so some of you all did, and I really appreciate you guys for asking your questions, but please in the future, feel free to indulge in question asking. And if I don't read it right away, because sometimes I don't, you can go ahead and post it in all caps. You can shout at me the questions, and that way I'll be sure to see it. And oh my gosh, thank you so much, Caleb. Thank you for being on. And look at that. We appreciate that. For the mic malfunction, we'll go ahead and put that into the kitty for the microphone. I appreciate you very much, Caleb, for coming on. Really, really appreciate that. And so what we're going to check out right now, real quick, since we've been going on for a little bit already, I did promise some pixels. And so we're going to bring this bad boy up. You got to see the beginning. During our beginning reel, we got to watch part of this, but we didn't get to see the whole thing. So I'm going to show you the start to finish of the pixel cut. And you're welcome to ask any questions about the pixel cut. And also, I'll do like a little bit of narration here as well. And Sonia, absolutely, we'll definitely do the struggle bus road trip together. I mean, we're always kind of doing that over on the Discord anyway. And Eric the Cat would like to say, what a great guest. Good night, everyone. Time for me to go immerse myself in other distractions like lightning bugs flashing outside. Go say hi to the lightning bugs for me. I've never seen one live. Would love to see that. Eric the Cat, thank you for joining us. And yes, always more cowbell. We need more cowbell. Thank you. And finally move the pedal onto a low shelf. Yeah, I wonder if other people's animals and selves go ahead and step on the pedal on accident, because every now and again I'll go ahead and activate it when I'm going from one point to another also. So Fordham, more like a forehead dome. Yes, absolutely. You guys are great. Okay, so first of all, I would like to draw your attention to this little baggie. This baggie of rocks has Theo's Sharpie marker on it. I could even move it back so that we can see. This is for faceting from Theo. He gave me this little baggie of quartz. So we pour it out and we grab this chunky monkey right here that might be good for their pixel cut. And hopefully I'm not hurting their ear. We are applying it to I believe that was my 320. I think so. And so I'm just doing the preform, and there's a really good look at what it looks like before it became the cut. Now, those of you who are thinking of like, wow, I didn't know it was that big when I was posting it in the Discord, it ain't, people. It's gonna lose some serious weight. And so I just want to prevent you all from crying along with me ahead of time. And so here I'm going checking all the way around the rock and throwing it back on that gritty wheel that is definitely grindy in your ear. So now what I've done is I've placed it on the dop, so you can see that there's a piece of brass in between the end of my fastening machine, which is called the quill, and the preform is now on the glued resin actually to the dop, and it's a big chunky thing sitting there. And so I'm still forming the sides of the rectangle and the ends. And so once it got to the point where I could put it onto the dop, I still had some forming to do. And so that's what you're seeing there, still on a pretty aggressive grit. And we'll move this back. I love this. And I actually was trying to take a picture, and I just took a little bit of video. But you see, we have the preform in the foreground. You see my beautiful stallion of a machine called a Facetron. I love that thing so much. I would give it its own little goose down bed if it so required. It would have a bed as sumptuous as all the dogs. I just absolutely love that thing. And in the background, you can see that is my faceting diagram, yet there is no diagram. That is the recipe for the different angles that I'm supposed to be cutting. And what it says there is Theo's, in quotes, good pixel cut. And that's how he sent it to me. Although I had to handwrite on my clipboard the different angles, and I actually have to adjust for my machine because I need my mask worked on. And so those are those numbers there, but it's all handwritten. I didn't even copy the one that he sent me. I just went ahead and took the notes myself. But that's how the sausage gets made in Ozone Studios. And here we go. Like, what I love about this is here's that. You can see that is rough as all get out. And here we're not rough anymore. We went from that, and a few cuts later, from the 300 to the 600, we have that. And actually, I believe I've taken it to 3K on this little bit here. But you can see the steps that make the pixel cut go. So that's what the pavilion looks like. And we're going to take a break for this. Mr. Turtle Montana, thank you so much. What is the difference between a vitamin and a hormone? You can't make a vitamin. Thank you, Mr. Turtle Montana. Boo! Okay, continuing on. So now we're seeing what the like you can see the clarity of the quartz starting to come out. I think we're between us looking for pixel cut quartzes and us looking for triplets, the optical quartz to make the triplets out of for the opals. We're going to have a run on quartz really bad. We're going to drive the price right up. Get your quartz right now. I'm speculating, the stock market now. And so Rob wants to learn the Texas Star. Yeah, I think I have that cut floating around here somewhere. I have a few books that are running around, and then I'll be darned if Theo doesn't keep on filling my inbox full of diagrams as well. So I think if I stopped now accepting any new diagrams, I could probably cut for the rest of my life and have new things to cut all the time. It's scary. And then, of course, there's Gem Cut Studio where you come up with your own. It's very exciting. And so we're looking at the pavilion, the frosty part that is still down lower towards the DOP is our reserved crown area. And we are looking at the stair steps of what will make pixels in the pavilion. And there you have that. And it's so fun. Like I take probably about 3 times longer than I need to making the gemstones because I gem gaze way too much. I'm so into looking at them at every stage. It's so gratifying. And Tara's saying between this and the opals from Spencer, you might not be wrong, Karen. I think that if you put your money in quartz right now, it'll be worth something, at least to you if you're working with these materials. But goodness gracious. And good evening, Bob. I hope the kids are doing well, and it's a pleasure to see you. Thank you for dropping in. And what we're seeing right now is a lot of people are stymied by this whole thing about a transfer station. And so what we're doing is we're looking at mine right now. And I think I indulged us in looking at the transfer station and taking one stone off a couple of weeks ago. And so what you got to do is your transfer station handles being able to keep the stone exactly in the same position from one dop to another dop so that you can keep all the same angles that you started with, whatever diagram you're cutting, when you're cutting the top as opposed to the bottom. Since this is a two-sided stone, we cut the pavilion on this stone first, and then we need to now cut the crown. And so I'm taking the first dop, which is on the top right now, off after the resin settles in the bottom, which is now holding the finished pavilion. So I just wanted to clarify that because I think a lot of people, they keep on asking me this question about the transfer station. So here we go. There's the close up. And that is actually a V dop. That lower one is holding the shape that we made in the bottom, which is different than, say, a round stone that comes to an ice cream cone kind of bottom. This one is actually called a V-dop, where it's sliced in half at an angle of, I don't know, maybe like 45 degrees or somewhere in between 90 and 45 degrees. And it holds the boat keel, if you will, of the kind of flange that's created when we're making a step like the one that we just did. And so we'll go on, and there it is. That's the crown being born. We're cutting the angles on the crown because they kind of look like each other, the top and the bottom, to create the pixel cut. You don't get a table on this stone. You'll look right there. There is no table. There are facets that go straight up to the top. And I'm going to really quickly catch up to the chat. And Turtle Montana is accusing Ma of buying all of the quartz available. Not yet. We're trying. And let's see, being in waste reduction for the better part of 2 decades, the transfer station is something totally different, right? It keeps throwing you. Yeah. Sorry about that. Transfer jig. I can use a different vernacular if that would work. A lot of people say transfer jig, and sounds like for your benefit, I might have to do that. And unaliving crystal points is exactly what we seem to be doing. You saw that was a nice chunky point that was sacrificed to the faceting gods, for sure. And Rob Thomas is keeping an eye out for more material. Awesome. And I'm not sure which you're talking about as far as Ma or myself or anybody out there. It's great that folks are keeping eyes out for everyone. Oh my gosh. Our transfer station rocks smells much better, I bet. So Mr. Turtle is clear quartz is also used to make fiber optic cables. Yes, they hear the quartz and they heat the quartz until it's molten, and then they stretch it out really thin like cheese on pizza. That's so crazy. That's so crazy to imagine. And then you think about like the stuff like the optics for, the Hubble telescope, and really, really interesting things like that. And so Patrick says, my CA accelerant smells like citrus. So yeah, for sure. Yeah, some of us kind of like the smells. I definitely enjoy some of the smells that we have going on in the lapidary and specifically faceting world. And so continuing on, we have that is the knot table, but the top. And then you saw that I put a fat girdle on this thing. And the reason why for that is because I was leaving myself room for emergencies, which I didn't have. And so I like to, what we were saying before was that you can always subtract, but you can't add. When we had Corey on. And so a lot of times, especially if I'm working with a new material or a new cut, I will make a little bit fatter of a girdle. If I need to go back and recut, I haven't messed myself up. So we're going to take one more look at the somewhat dusty and a little bit smudgy, but beautiful pixel cut here, doing its incredible dance. And I can tell you, Theo guaranteed me that it would become a fidget stone, that I would not ever get busy or bored of looking at it. And he was absolutely right that it is now like full time, like it's right here. There it is. And I can't stop playing with it. And I can't wait to set it so that I can play with it and it doesn't have to be in a gem jar. And so I really, really appreciate your guys's positive feedback. That's wonderful. Yes, it is definitely measure twice, 15 times, however many times you need to measure, and cut once, because you do only get the one cut unless you have to go around and recut everything, which is why you leave a fat girdle. And I have had to do that recently on some other things. And so thank you so much, Ma. I really appreciate that. And Ryan's here. Let's go back to that really quick. Late to the party, but not too late. And so thank you so much for coming by. I hope everything is okay with you, Ryan. And it's always a pleasure to see you. And thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate all of your support. I've got some lovely rough from Lisa that can't wait to get a pixel cut or some other cuts and some fun setting to do for you as well. And so it's incredible to try something new. And that's kind of what we've been talking about all evening long with the challenge. And it takes time, and it takes you giving yourself a little bit of a break, because mistakes will be made and maybe some material might be lost. But in the end, when you do get there, because you will get there, persevere, it'll be so gratifying. And so thank you. Thank you for that. And I really appreciate it. Like, cut, measure many times, cut once, and sniff thrice. Mr. Turtle. I guess that had to do with the citrus accelerant or something like that. Don't be huffing stuff though, guys. We don't have enough brain cells for that. And thank you, Julie. So I have to tell you a little bit of backstory. Some of you already have heard this before, but Theo, the shoulder devil, he probably for over a year, like maybe 2 years, I don't know, ever since I got my faceting machine, maybe, I'm not sure, has been cajoling me, like, you gotta try the pixel cut, love the pixel cut. And I guess maybe not the pixel cut going back that far as much as just use some quartz. And he sent me quartz to use. Well, on the word on the street was that quartz was hard and a little bit persnickety to work with, not the easiest dance. And I had already been working with sunstone so much that I went straight into faceting it and felt the comfort of a warm, cozy bed. I mean, I love sunstone so much. It's so easy for me. And so I almost like, I was like, I don't really want to, and I don't have to, because I've got like another clear, because you can have clear quartz and you can have like the clear sunstone. And so I was really hesitant, and he kept on like twisting the arm. No, do it. And so finally with this pixel cut, he sent me the exact cutting angles and everything, and he's like, it's just so easy. It's going to be great. And it took that amethyst where I figured out with my laps how to work with quartz. And then I was like, okay, now I have the key to the quartz. I'll go ahead and try that. I'll go ahead and try that pixel cut. And I'm addicted. It's so cool. And I know, I think that Tara was saying that you'd like to see that in person. Yeah, they're way more amazing in real life. They're just gorgeous, and they don't have to be on a clear stone. You could do it with a smoky. I think that's what Theo was saying was his absolute favorite stone to do the pixel on, and citrine and amethyst and sunstone and tourmaline and you name it, aquamarine. I like it, moissanite, many of the rocks. Like, it's all good. And so it's a Minecraft cut. Yeah. They're just amazing. And so very, very fun to cut. So it's not like I thought he was getting me into another port round situation. There's like a gazillion cuts on a port round. They're worth it. Every single cut on a port round, Portuguese standard round, brilliant, awesome, gorgeous, incredible stone. There's no stone that it looks bad on. They're beautiful, but really intense to cut. You cut on one stone. Like, if you've got 4 different stages of laps and it's over 100 facets for each stage, you're with that stone for a while. And so this is a breeze. This is baby food in comparison. I absolutely love it. And so thank you guys for all of the positive feedback again. And Rob Thomas likes fat girdles. I cannot lie. Yeah. Gotta love a fat girdle. And thank you, Tara, for hanging out. We're wrapping it up. And so oh no. Turtle. Anyways, I want to thank again Corey for coming on, and I would like to thank Jahik for coming on and talking about the fun that we have over on the Discord. If you're watching this right now and you're wondering what this Discord thing is, if you're a lurkin, hey, I can see you too. Thanks for coming. You're welcome over on our Discord. It's a closed Discord, but if you're watching this, you're welcome, because it's for the rock community. And obviously, especially if you're here at the end, you're probably part of us, one of us. And so join us over there. That's where we have the cab contest. That's where we have the makers challenge monthly, where you get a chance to just work with the material of choice, and we all post them up. We talk about them. But in addition to that, there's a bunch of channels that you can do faceting or silversmithing. There's show and tell. There's show us your fur baby pets at home. I mean, we got tangent channels too. It's a community. It's a place to come and hang out. There's also places on the Discord where you can hang out live. And so, there's the chat lounges and stuff where you can use video or not, just audio, whatever you want. You can ask people questions in real time. You can get feedback. It's an amazing place to go hang out. And so I want to thank all of you guys over on the Discord, all you Discordians. Thank you for making it special over there, and your participation in these challenges and the contests. It's for you, and you guys are the ones that make it great. And so I really, really appreciate you guys for doing that. I'd also like to thank everybody out there who is a member of the channel. That's what makes the sausage get made, is so that we can pay our bills for, the platforms and stuff like that every month. And so if you like what you've been watching, then feel free to become a membership, or just put the thumbs up button, or you can subscribe to the channel. That's absolutely free, and you don't have to lift a finger for that. And it tells the YouTube that people are enjoying the channel, and it helps get this spread out in the algorithm so that other people can discover this and the kinds of conversations that we have with people like Corey and Caleb. And so we appreciate that. If you want to leave a comment, that also helps the algorithm as well. And so I really appreciate everything that you guys do. It's reciprocal, and it's just our fun that we have together on Friday nights for the Friday Night Live. I really appreciate you guys. I'm going to ring this bell for you. You guys rock! Woo! And oh my gosh, Bob's rocks. That's awesome. I love that redundancy. Yay! I really appreciate the 5 new members. So thank you, Bob, for that generosity. And then congratulations to the new members over here on the channel. A new little snippet video is going up for you guys tonight. And that is going to be about some of our weirdness over the week. I want to get into the habit of pitching at least a video over there on a weekly basis so that you can kind of see some of the behind the scenes stuff. And so if you are a member on the channel, you're not missing out on channel stuff. So the stuff that YouTube wants me to put up, like, you know, the rock finding videos and the how to do stuff, that'll still be on everybody's availability on the channel. The membership side, that's the tangent side. You guys are going to see some of the other stuff behind the scenes, stuff that like might not do great with the algorithm for the channel on the regular YouTube, but that you guys will want to see. I saw something so weird at the beach that I had to share it with you guys. And so that's what's going to be going up for you tonight for it's not a huge long video, but a little something for your eyes. And so it's also a place over there on the community that you guys can let me know what you guys want from me, because, you know, I want to do for you for sure. All the appreciation in the world to you guys. And so again, thank you so much, Bob Rocks. And again, thank you guys that are our new members. Congratulations in the community. And one of the things that happens when you guys are part of the membership and pitch into the channel to help support it running is you get to be in the credits. And so I'm going to run the credits. Also, those of you who, you know, support in other ways, we've got a sale going on over on the website, which is ozonefineart.com. And there, I believe all the pieces are on sale still right now. And so that's another way to support the channel. If you want to get something back for your, like a tangible, you can go ahead and get some jewelry off of the website, and actually the money goes to the same thing. It goes to making sure that we have funds for mining and helps us get down the road to do the videos that we produce for the channel. And so thank you so much for everything that you guys do and for hanging out for this Friday night. Make sure to give the other channels some love. Go watch that video from Dad Rocks Phil, and go watch AZRE videos. They're so much fun. The Arizona Rockhound Expeditions people, and watch Kyle and buy a bunch of rocks from him, and Theo and Katie did, and that Opal guy, and Cheryl and Ryan and Cynthia Foss, and all these people that are new, and of course Freeform Lapidary, everybody, all y'all, Bob's Rocks. We need to see more lives from Bob's Rocks, actually. Right, and for future microphones, boy howdy. So again, oh, and Billy Whitehorn just swooped into, and Betty, I think I said a hello like this to you earlier, but I didn't get to say hello in actual verbiage, since we had such compelling conversation going on. I couldn't breaking. But really, really appreciate all of you. Ma, thank you so much for brandishing your wrench and providing the link to the store. I appreciate that. There's some pretty things over there to get your jewelry jam on if you need something pretty. But like I said, it's also money well spent because it goes into the kitty to help us keep all this stuff going. And we've got some new jewelry items getting made right now. You guys saw that on the lives. Keep an eye open for more of those working lives, the Maker's Bunch. And until then, Steinkerns, you rock. I love you. And we'll see you around the community. Cheers and Steinkerns. Be alive, everybody. Are you here? Am I here? And we can't hear me. Let's start over again. Are you here? Am I here? And we can't hear me. Let's start over again.